ริญสุขสวัสดีท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการ Buddhism for World Peace รายการดีมีสาระที่นำเอาองค์ความรู้ในทางพระพุทธศาสนามาสัมภาษณ์มาพูดคุยกับแขกรับเชิญของเรารายการนี้ต้องขอกราบขอบพระคุณพระเดชพระคุณพระพรหมวชิรยานกรรมการมหาเถรสมาคมเจ้าอาวาสวัดยานนาวาเขตสาทรกรุงเทพที่ได้ประทานโอกาสให้กับเราทั้งสี่มาจัดรายการดีๆอย่างนี้เผยแผ่ไปยังสาธารณชนอยู่เป็นประจำและในวันนี้ก็เช่นเดียวกันรายการของเราได้รับเกียรติเป็นอย่างสูงจากชาวต่างชาติถึง3ท่านด้วยกันเดินทางมาไกลมากมาจากสหรัฐอเมริกามานั่งอยู่กับเราแล้วเพราะฉะนั้นเพื่อไม่เป็นการเสียเวลาไปพบกับท่านทั้ง3กันเลยพบกับดร.จัสตินมิสเตอร์มุสตาฟาและมิสคาเรียสาธุสาธุไหว้เหมือนคนไทยพูดภาษาไทยสวัสดีได้ด้วยถือว่าไม่ธรรมดาเลยทีเดียว How are you today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here and it's nice to see you again.
And me too. Thank you. And you, Mustafa?
I'm doing really well. I'm first time in Thailand, so I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, never visit Thailand?
No, never before.
Why?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Okay, it's still for you. And your career?
I'm happy to be here. I love Thailand.
Oh, why? Why you love Thailand? Why?
I love the food.
Oh, Thai food you like?
Yeah.
You careful na to exercise. Okay.
And I love the culture.
Culture, yes.
So welcoming.
Welcoming. Okay, thank you. How long you stay in Thailand?
I've lived in Thailand for about 6 years, a little more than 6 years.
Yes.
But nowadays I go back and forth. I come here about 3 times a year. I first came to Thailand as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And I worked with refugees. And then I worked teaching in a high school. And then after that I became a monk and lived here for a while in Isan as a monk. And then since then I come back and I do research and I see old friends and I learn more and more about Thai history and culture.
You high power na. I know you can speak many languages around Asia. Tell me how many languages you can speak?
I can speak Shan and Lao and Thai and I can read Sanskrit and Pali and Latin and German and French.
Oh, many.
Yeah, and Japanese.
Oh, you high intelligent na.
No, I just love
Why
them.
did you choose to Thailand to learn about Buddhism?
Well, I wanted to help refugees from Cambodia. And that Thailand was setting up, had camps for refugees to help them, and I wanted to help there first. And then when I came to Thailand, I was working here as a volunteer. I fell in love with Thai culture. I got to know many nuns, manchi, and monks. I began to study Pali Sanskrit languages, and so over time, I really developed a deep attachment and affection for Thailand.
Wow, it's very high power. Right? You have good teacher, na?
Great.
Okay. Could you tell me about your education in Pennsylvania?
It's great. It's very informative. It's a little bit challenging. I study religion and science, so I get to see how they both have similarities and differences, and how they both play hand in hand.
And you, career?
It's been really good so far.
Yeah.
I get to study things like Buddhism and languages, but I also take a lot of classes about math and science and even art,
Yeah.
Which is really nice. So,
I would like to know why you study about Buddhism.
I study about Buddhism because it's interesting. And at first, I thought it was interesting because it's so different from what we have in the U.S. and from what I'm used to. But the more I learn, it's still interesting because there's so many different practices, and everyone does their thing, and everywhere you go, there's something new to learn. So,
How many times you visit Thailand before?
3 times.
3 times. Why? Many times.
I was an exchange student at Howang, Rongrian Howang.
โรงเรียนโฮวัง Oh, you speak Thai very good. High school.
High school,
Yes.
Mohok.
Mohok, yes.
I was here for 1 year. And then when I went home, I missed Thailand a lot. So now I decided I better study so I can come back.
Like you come back home.
Yeah, like I'm coming home.
Where you stay when you study in Hawang
When
High
I
School?
studied, I stayed with a family.
Family? Your family?
No, with a couple host families.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had 3 host families. They were all very nice. And I had host sisters and host brothers, and they took me around Thailand, and I got to see Korat, and I got to see Surat Thani.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Good to know that you stay in Thailand and study in Hawang High
Yeah.
School. Speak Thai too.
Next year, I hope to come back
Yeah.
and teach.
Oh, you'll be teacher.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, good teacher. I hope. Okay, student, wait, just wait here to come here. This moment, I can see around the world, sometime like a trouble, sometime like a dangerous somewhere. So I think about world peace. This moment, how do you feel about world peace?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Of course, it's very challenging. We all hope for world peace. I don't think there's anyone on earth
me
who
too.
doesn't want world peace,
Yeah.
of course, and you are actively helping to foster world peace.
Yes.
But I think there's a few impediments that are stopping world peace, and I think the most important is probably the wealth gap between the very rich and the very poor. There's a large gap in wealth, and so you're going to have a lot of people who are poor that need resources, that need food, and that is made worse by environmental disaster, is that people are finding it hard for fresh food and water. I also think education is hugely important, especially women's education.
Yeah, I think so.
And many of the places in the world that don't have advanced women's education, we find over time have more conflict.
Yeah.
Because you don't have half the population or more actively engaged as citizens and actively engaged in improving the country in terms of healthcare and raising of children and political advancement and things like this. And so I think that if we focused on education and we focused on helping decrease the wealth gap between the rich and poor, I think that we would find conflict less and less.
Yeah.
But these are large challenges, of course, and it takes every culture and every religion working very hard to foster world peace at every chance they get. And I think that we might think that one monk in Thailand or one nun in France or one imam, say, in Syria doesn't have much power and doesn't have much
Helping
say.
hand.
Right, but if they all work together,
Yeah.
listen to each other,
Yeah.
that locally we can build and foster world peace, I hope.
Wow, very good answer. Thank you very much. You know, my 3 program support about world peace too. Buddhism for world peace, my 3 program. And I open mind for people around the world. You know, last year I visited Nepal to support scholarship for students too,
great.
and poor family. And yesterday, on the mountain Chiang Mai, my group support students about scholarship again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Many times.
That's great to hear.
It's for support world peace too.
That's right.
Yes,
And so all of these little actions in different places
Yeah.
hopefully will lead to a big action one day.
yes, we can work together.
Of course.
Okay,
Of course.
one day
My,
you
my
can join
pleasure.
with me.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much so far. How do you feel about Thai temple? You student to visit temple before?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and we just arrived,
Yeah.
so we haven't had a chance to visit many. But I took them to Wat Raja Olo, and I took them to Wat Kalyananik, and I just took them before we got here to Wat Sake.
Yeah.
So 3 so far. This is our 4th time.
Okay, tell me about Thai temple.
I think it's great. We've
Yeah.
visited a few temples.
Yeah.
I've loved hearing the bells chiming and the birds chirping. It's a nice escape from the city. It's very peaceful, warm, and welcoming. The architecture is beautiful as well.
Yeah. And you too, Korea.
I think it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I love that when you walk into a temple, there's a lot of sounds and smells, and people are doing things. And I think in the U.S. there's this idea that Buddhists are just quiet and meditating, and there's definitely a part of Buddhism that's really important. There's another part of Buddhism that's really joyful and doing a lot of things and giving flowers and singing, and I love how engaging the temples are.
I want to know because you study Buddhist study,
Yeah.
right? Can you tell me what is the hallmark of Buddhism?
I think the hallmark of Buddhism, that's a hard question because there's so many things. I think that if I had to pick one thing, it would be maybe embracing peace.
Yeah.
So embracing peace, so that could be meditating, that can also be being with your family.
You like?
Hard question.
Okay, surprise you about culture of Thailand.
Well, of course, I love the culture of Thailand. It's very complex. There's many customs and rituals like all countries, but what I find most appealing about Thai culture is the focus on Mekta Garuna, on compassion and loving kindness, and the fact that almost anywhere you go in Thailand, if you ask someone for help, they are incredibly generous. They open up their heart. They're very welcoming. They share their feelings and their thoughts. They share their homes and their food. And I would hope that when Thai people came to the United States that we would be the same, that we would show compassion and that we would show help. But I'm always amazed when I'm coming to Thailand, no matter how long I've been here, just how genuinely kind and warm people are.
Thank you very much. It's a sweet word.
Well, thank you.
Not sweet word.
No, not Pakwan.
First of all, we have a time. Can you tell me about Thai culture? How do you feel when you stay in Thailand?
It's a very welcoming energy. Everyone is always very welcoming. I always see smiling, and that makes me smile. And it's a nice place to get away from the U.S. culture a bit.
Okay, thank you. And you, Korean? Tell me about Thai culture.
I think that being really welcoming and generous is really the first thing you really notice immediately. When you ask someone for directions, sometimes they don't just tell you, "Leo kwa, leo sai." They tell you, "Okay, I'll take you," and they walk with you to make sure you're not lost. Or if you go up and you ask how to pronounce the name of a fruit, the person will help you say it a lot of times, not just like, "Oh, this is what it is." Like little questions that maybe it would be easy to not pay attention to. I think Thai people take time to really make sure that when you ask something, they really help. So it's really nice.
Long time ago, I do this, because I would like to practice English language. Sometimes I stay in my temple, and a foreign person come to my temple, and I call him, "Hello, can I help you something?" And they told me, "I would like to visit Emperor Buddha temple, the king place." "Okay, follow me. I show you." I pay for taxi, for ticket, I take care of tourists many times. You know why I do this?
Why?
You tell me first why.
Because you're a very generous person.
I would like to practice English language. And show Buddhist culture, Thai culture. Okay, today I'm very happy to interview you, Dr. Justice Mustafa and Karen. I would like to say thank you very much for you all to join with me on WBT today. And I would like to give you something like a souvenir from my temple too. Okay, this is for you. So Buddha protect you to be lucky, happy, and success everything you do. And you, Mustafa? Okay, Buddha protect you to be success about your education too. Everything pass. Okay. And you, Korea? You put your hand like this? I cannot touch you.
No, she
maybe it's better. Okay. Okay, Buddha protect you to be lucky, happy. เอาละวันนี้เวลาของเราก็หมดลงแล้วต้องขอบคุณทั้ง3ท่านที่ให้เกียรติมาร่วมพูดคุยในรายการของเราต้องขอพาท่านผู้ชมไปพบกับสิ่งที่น่าสนใจสักครู่เดียวเดี๋ยวกลับมาพบกับการสัมภาษณ์พูดคุยกับนิสิตนานาชาติอีกครั้งหนึ่งในตอนที่2กันต่อไปขอเจริญพร